I'm Coach Joel Lincoln, and today we're going to be talking about youth basketball planning and practice. So I think it's very important, number one, to understand that youth basketball is usually a volunteer coach, and you could have anywhere from 1 to 12 kids show up. So I think coming into this, I've been in this space for a year and a half, but been involved with youth basketball and camps, things like that for over a decade, and is really how I built my career and my network. So with that being said, we're going to get into it right away. Practice repetition is game execution. That's at the end of the day. And right now with the youth teams I'm coaching, we get an hour twice a week. So I think being very efficient with that time is very, very important, and planning our practices has allowed our team to, from a year and a half, has gone from winning no games to winning the third grade state championship, which that's a joke to even say, but I think is a big time credit to the kids' improvement and their development. So through this presentation and our YouTube channel in general, we are looking forward to providing access to high quality and effective training for coaches, players, and parents. This video today, I think, is geared not only to coaches, but also to parents. So when you go in and you watch a practice, you can kind of know what is going on and what should be expected to be seen. So this is a list of things that you should be including in your practice, and then how you go about executing that is up to you. I think the most important thing is you're preparing your players for what's going to happen on the weekends and developing their skills. I think those things often or can be lost. You get so worried about putting this set in, or, we got to work on our out of bounds play. And then, or, go layup lines because we missed a bunch of layups. I think you need to be very meticulous in the planning of your practice and executing it the way that you think is best. So, getting into that, I'm going to kick off our skill list. These things should be executed, practice every single day, every time you practice. And at best, you're maybe giving kids a few tools they can go home. So when they're practicing, they will be able to take advantage of what they do in practice. And if you're planning practice correctly, all of their practice at home and in practice is going to help you have a great result in your game. So number one, shooting. I think as more of the game becomes perimeter based, and it's most important, especially from a youth perspective, pass, dribble, shoot, because we don't know how tall anyone's going to be, what their size, athleticism, all of that. So being able to have good feet, be able to shoot the basketball, be able to make layups with not only your right hand, but your dominant hand, but as well as your weak hand, and working on that repeatedly, getting the reps on that shooting technique. I think just, so kids know what they're looking for and at least have a base. So when you say be on balance, you've talked about on balance, you've given them examples of what on balance is, things like that. Obviously, kids aren't going to come in and form shoot, and you don't have the time to spend more than a handful of minutes on it every single day. But the reps, especially the younger the team, the more reps they have, they're building the correct reps. And so when they start to do it, they come, 18, 19, 20 practices, depending on the week length of your season, plus a little personal training on the side, or even, just working with a family member on their game. They at least have some form, some technique, some things as a parent you can kind of look for. And that's what this YouTube channel is especially dedicated to. Dribbling with starting and stopping. I think from a youth perspective, and I know that when you work on this every single day and you hold kids accountable to not traveling, number one, they like it because we call travels in practice. And that is with all ages. And it could be a travel and come back and try again, or it could be a turnover. We make those decisions in the moment, but every single day practicing, starting and stopping without traveling, while dribbling with your chin, eyes up. I think next we have passing with movement, and then adding defense, whether it is just a quick dribble pass to each other. I'm not a huge 3-man weave advocate. I think it builds the opposite. You want to go away from the ball after you pass it, not go to it. But even that drill is great just from a communication, being able to catch, move, turn your hips, shoulders, all of that. So moving with your passing, obviously there's a time and a place for the one more, but getting kids used to passing on time, on target, swishing the pass is something I say to my teams a lot. And then adding defense. You can explain to your blue in the face why that should be, why that skip pass needs to be above their head or above the defense, but putting some, live defense out there, anytime you add that, it really enhances the learning, the engagement. It now matters. Playing against air is only so intriguing. And that's when you're working on scoring. And then finally, every time you want to work on your spacing, both offensively and defensively. In defensively, the 3 places you should be. And if you're looking for specific drills, I would reference the 3-on-3 drills that were posted last week. So for defense, working on, guarding the ball, being in gap, being in help, moving when the ball is passed, maintaining vision, things like that are your defensive spacing. Offensive spacing, pass and cut, pass screen away, pass, chuck and chase, getting your pick and roll, things like that, getting kids used to the next play, right? I caught it, I swung it, now what do I do? And, reinforcing and making sure that that habit is being built. Once again, the younger the team, the better those habits can be because they don't really know anything. And what I've found is kids crave accountability, especially the younger kids. When you correct them, it doesn't bother them as long as there's the occasional come back and try it again. It can be the natural consequence of a turnover. Hey, bud, in a game, obviously, if we take 7 steps, the other team's going to get the ball. And then finally lending with live play, and that does not necessarily have to be 5-on-5. I'm a big advocate for 3-on-3, and we're launching a 3-on-3 here in Charlotte next fall. We've had a small sampling this spring, but 3-on-3 with that live play, especially for a youth practice, can be great because you may only have 6 kids, 7 kids. So 3-on-3, one team has a sub, make it, take it, however you'd like to play. Obviously, kids love to play 5-on-5 up and down, but coaching that 5-on-5 and reinforcing that, I think, is vastly underrated. A drill that I like to use is, we call it down, back, down. Starts with a free throw, so you're getting your free throw practice in, and then it's a live rebound on a miss. If offense gets it, they go back up. Then defense is going to go down on offense, and then they're going to come back on defense, and then they'll end on offense. Defensive team or guy that shoots the free throw, obviously this team's going to start on defense, get some transition offense, and then have to get some transition defense. So just adding those little things and holding your players accountable to getting better in the things you're hopefully working on in the drill. So these are just the basics outside of your press break, your, offense, your sets, all of that, which should be very limited just because of the limited amount of time you have in practice. Once again, going back to practice repetition, game execution. If you expect your 3rd or 4th grade or 5th, even 6th grade team to go out and be able to go and execute your plays, it's going to take a lot of practice. Whereas if you can teach them how to play in a couple of entries and maybe a couple of quick hitters, things like that, being efficient again with your time and understanding that you're working on your players' skills and especially motion offense is great just for kids that are learning how to play the game. It's most fun with less control. Kids like to play. The game is meant to be played. It needs to be taught, but it needs to be played. So how you go about planning your practice for both your team development and your player development is what can separate just to, a coach who's trying. And to touch back on a point from earlier, coaches are often volunteers. They're emulating what they've seen. And as a coach myself, I know there are plenty of coaches and myself as well. You pull something offline and you implement it right away, which is great and is a little more applicable to if you have a higher level team and obviously fitting your scheme and what you're trying to do. Pulling just drills from the internet is just an amateur move. And, what we're hoping to do through not only this video, but others similar, is giving you some content that you can, or some drills that you can take and change, but still get a similar result. So, using a core set of drills and then adding layers is the best way, because you're not having to reteach. This is how we go, defense to offense and all of that. Here's how we pass. Here's how it starts. All of that stays the same. So you can simply teach their obvious corrections. Giving players only one or two things that we're working on in a given time is very important. Not getting caught in this drill. We can work on 97 things, but but really saying today we're focusing on this. And once we master jumping to the ball, then we can worry about being perfect spacing. But today we're focusing on jumping to the ball. Offense, today we're focusing on catching a triple threat. Obviously, we can work on our attack moves and all of that, but right now on this portion, and really just being a very, taking advantage of those teachable moments and really searching out those times that you can still, touch on a basic thing, build a great habit without it affecting the drill, but also not giving kids so many things that they are literally going to do something wrong every time. Try to get your repetitions to be as close to perfect as possible. So using the same drills with added layers, give your teams more reps and more of a challenge. Great coaches from youth to college to the pros. Nothing's really new. This channel, everything is stolen or inspired by something I've seen, Tone's seen, things like that. So think of, just a basic shell, jump to the ball shell, 4-on-4, 3-on-3, whichever way you prefer. Then that's the basic one. Then you start to add some dummy actions and, jump to the ball, bounce screen, whatever. And just another great way to do that is, you start with jump to the ball, practice 1 and 2, then you add pass and cut. So, anytime the ball's passed to the corner, player cuts through. So now your defense is working on jumping to the ball. You're starting to incorporate that help. Especially with 3-on-3, it makes it very easy that there's 3 positions, 3 players. Strong and weak side is very easy. And just simple, but really focusing on your players becoming perfect at something and adding the next challenge and not holding them accountable to something that you've never intentionally made sure they could have. Because you can watch an NBA game, NBA Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals, all that stuff. Players are going to get beat when they don't jump to the ball. And that's every level. So being intentional about building that habit as a youth, and especially in your younger teams, it's something that they're not going to graduate, but they're not going to forget either. So, drills that start the same, and then you have your skill, and then ending with a live or with a shot, anything like that adds to the drill, because, that quick carrot and stick of, hey, we're going to make sure we execute it, but on the coach's whistle, then it becomes live. Going back to our 4-on-4 shell example with your down screens, okay, on the, coach blows whistle, that one becomes live, and, go from there. Same deal. You can be working on your pick and roll coverages with your 4-on-4, cut through in the corner, reverse it, things like that. And you can, again, you're still doing 4-on-4 shell, so the defense knows the concept. And now you're starting to work on some of your offense with your defense covering the actions they're going to be seeing in the games. So we talked a lot about spacing, but just a drill that we're going to be posting next week. Working on dribbling, starting and stopping. And this is myself and Tone. This was actually, if you listen to episode 3 of the podcast that was released last night, this was Mother's Day 2021 in Corona, California, DT's spot with both Tone and I's mentor. I'll speak for myself. One of my mentors, Coach Don Showalter, who teaches these drills every year at Snow Valley Basketball School in Iowa, where Tone and I met, and now have obviously grown into a great friendship. And we owe that not only to the game of basketball, but also Coach Show. And so you can do these, and this is on a warm-up I use, and this content will be coming next week, is line drills. And again, we steal everything off of this or inspired by these, but Coach Showalter does these with his USA basketball teams He did it with his high school teams when he was a high school coach for almost 40 years. His teams won a lot. And it's just a great way to really reinforce your players' footwork and making sure they can pivot. And it's also a great way for youth practices when you only have an hour that you don't spend time on things like high knees and butt kicks and things like that. When you only have an hour, you can get players' heart rates going quick, listen. And what I even tell my third grade team is if this is so easy, show me it's easy by doing it perfect every time, because then I know we can move on. And, just really putting on explaining the why to players. But, that's just a little key to success, key ingredient to having your players stop having better footwork and to stop traveling. One thing we take great pride in, and I take pride in as a coach, is especially with the developmental teams I'm helping coach, is we really value our footwork, whether that's starting and stopping, whether that's defense and how we go hit and sit, go get on rebounding, from how we catch the ball, left, right footwork, things like that. Your feet are the most important thing. It's the base, it's your balance, all of that, and start in, making sure kids can pivot and do all that stuff on balance. Working the USA Gold Camp, we do them, and, we'll have some elite players there. Last year in Omaha, we had several elite players and they can't do it. And just holding those kids accountable to those great habits. So tune back for more. I will continue this presentation at a later time. So if you have any thoughts, anything you think I'm wrong about, make sure you put that in the comments below. If you found this useful, make sure you check back, as we will be going through and sharing drills you should be using in practice or adding to the things you're doing, and at minimum adding some inspiration, as these have all been taken from other places. So thanks for watching. Parents, now you know what skills you're looking for. We'll pop right back to coaches. This should be your guide. Once again, how you plan your practice. Have no qualms that there's a lot of different ways to choose it to be successful. But after you plan your practice, a great thing to do is go back. Hey, are we making sure we're talking about shooting today? Are we, doing the layups? Are we starting practice with line drills? Are we holding kids accountable to pivoting the correct way in a drill that we mention it in? Are we, doing some small sided game, making decisions? Are we, maybe doing 2-on-1, things like that? Are we passing around a defender, or are we, again, starting, stopping, but being on balance? Can we, make a one-handed pass? Can we fake a pass to make a pass? All that little stuff, adding that defense, even if the defense knows they can't steal the ball, but they can deflect it, getting, players used to passing. As much as we wish everyone would have an imagination, at times it's absolutely necessary. If in your practice, if you do have one of those nights with more players, I think it's great to not only have, your line drills of working on it, but then adding to, hey, different things with your offense, with your, guys dribble. Hey, we're going to just, 2-on-1, drive from the wing, help side defense. You either step over and stop or stay, making those simple decisions, work on your layups, dribbling, passing, because if the defense steps over, hitting that guy or girl on the opposite side, offense, defense spacing, we hit big on that. And then finally, make sure you have some live play in there. And it's not just live, coach sits and scrolls on his phone live, like live where you're trying to get something done. That's the perfect time to work on your sets. Down, back, down provides a great framework for, even if it's just drawn on the board and your kids know it, get them used to seeing it and then going and repping it. Seen at the top, watch, rep, results. I think now that you're watching this type of content, my goal is you will steal it immediately, if not sooner, and to go start to rep it. And there are plenty of examples you'll start to see later as we release more content of guys that and girls that are using these drills or similar and are getting results that most people crave, whether that's a college scholarship, professional contracts. We are aiming to give away all that we can, and myself in the youth game, to coaches that are trying to do their best, that don't have the time or have not dedicated the time to going and seeking this out in quick, bite-sized, stealable content pieces. So make sure if you found this useful, you share it with a teammate, a fellow coach, parents. Once again, these are the things you should be looking for at your practice. when if your kid is not improving, I have a talk to the coach. When are we working on our shooting? And obviously that's a discussion you'll have together and in a respectful manner. But, coaches, it's our job to help not only develop these players on the court, and we're going to talk about this, this will be a theme throughout, but also developing those players off the court. So make sure you like, subscribe. Anything that I got wrong, any feedback you have for me, put in the comments below. We'll see you in the gym soon.